What about the fear here at home of the drones?
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
We should know
they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
You may have noticed unusual lights in the sky the last few days. This is a video sent in by an NBC5 viewer over the Canadian border. This was last night in Brushton, New York. We've also heard reports of these lights in Vermont.
And one of the latest sightings was actually here in Ohio.
Yeah, that's right, Kristen. It happened late Friday night at Wright-Patterson Air Force just outside of Dayton.
Daily News reports that the base says no property was damaged and no one was harmed. I went to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They were unable to talk to us, but we did talk to a few people who live in the area. Nobody I spoke with saw the drones Friday night, but they were familiar with the sightings on the East Coast. Tyler Morgan lives near Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base and was surprised to find out the airspace was shut down for around 4 hours, and he was first hearing about it 2 days later.
I was kind of shocked to hear they made its way out here. I think there's a lot of unknowns. I think it's kind of weird. No one really knows what it is.
Alex Blankenship lives 1 mile from the base. She says after seeing the New Jersey sightings near the East Coast, she thought it was only a matter of time before they made it to Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base. With limited information, people are trying to fill in the blanks
while officials work to figure out exactly what was going on. But at that same exact time, an airport in New York had to shut down because of similar drone sightings. At this point, it's unclear whether the sightings are related.
And more mysterious drone sightings continue to be reported nationwide. Viewers sending in videos to Fox 11 of weird objects seen above Long Beach overnight.
Reports of mysterious drone sightings continue to come in from cities across the U.S., including several right here in and around Metro Atlanta.
In different parts of the town.
Can you tell us more about what you witnessed last night, Whit?
Yeah, it was interesting. The weather wasn't so great, and again, these objects were at a distance, but you could tell some distinct differences, right? We were watching the planes that would fly from one side of this reservoir to the other in a linear fashion. These objects would go left, they'd go right, they'd go up, they'd go down, and then they would just hover in place for a while. So there were some distinct differences. We just couldn't positively identify what it was.
And aren't officials using some new equipment to be able to differentiate between the two?
Yeah, and the equipment's pretty basic here. They're using flight tracker apps. So if they get a report, they go out and they're actually looking at the planes in the sky. And we were doing that too last night. So you could see the plane say, oh, that's a Delta flight, American Airlines. And then there are these other objects that we weren't able to determine.
It's a phenomenon taking place from New Jersey to Virginia and even here in Baltimore.
And so it was just me and this little thing staring at each other for about 15 minutes.
Drone sightings are the hot topic of conversation, especially for those who've experienced it.
At first, I thought it was the light on the tower, but then I looked around and realized it's way too far up and way too far out.
Blue captured this video in the Mount Vernon neighborhood Saturday evening.
And as I began to film, it started doing this dance. And as it moves, I move, making these very erratic movements.
It shows what appears to be a flashing light, at some point making quick moves and sudden stop.
Can a drone do that? Sure. But whose is it? I'm not an aviation professional, but I'm pretty clued in. And I wouldn't know of any helicopter or any type of plane that could do that.
At least 4 pilots flying over Oregon reported seeing bright lights like these recently. They think they're most likely satellite flares. Experts have been following flare-ups like this since 2022, when 5 other pilots saw bright moving objects over the Pacific Ocean.
But the bright orange light spotted above the Eugene area was clearly different.
The biggest thing that stood out is it was changing directions. Usually things don't change directions.
Audio recordings captured his conversation with air traffic controllers.
Red in color, moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving.
You are cleared to maneuver as necessary, left and right, to avoid the UFO out there.
At least 4 commercial pilots spotted the same mysterious bright lights above Oregon this weekend.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes, up and down. It's pretty crazy.
Bewley said the lights showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system.
On my TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system, it's in one of my middle screens of the Platus. You can see aircraft on it usually. And I saw a target that would stop right on that ring, and before it would go back out over the horizon, disappear out over the horizon off the ocean.
So your aircraft's collision avoidance system was picking something up, and yet it wasn't showing up on other radar?
ATC said they couldn't see it.
We went on patrol with the Clinton Township Police Department.
Once the sun goes down, these drones come out. Once the sun comes up, they're gone. Some calls will be one drone hovering over the house. A few days ago, we got 30 drones.
Within minutes, we spotted lights hovering over a large New Jersey reservoir.
You see how slow these ones are moving? The 2 that are on our flight radar, and then that one, the plane, is moving quick. These kind of just hover, go really slow.
I need the government to just tell the truth. I need the government to understand that we're big enough to be able to handle it.
This comes amid growing concerns about a series of unexplained drone sightings in the Northeast in recent weeks. In New York on Friday, Stewart International Airport forced to temporarily close its runways after multiple sightings nearby.
And seems like there's multiple drones all over this airport tonight, man.
The Biden administration insisting it has no evidence to suggest a national security threat or foreign involvement.
Is this a spacecraft?
Dozens of people across Massachusetts and New Hampshire are catching unconfirmed sightings on camera, similar to the drones that have been seen flying around New Jersey in recent weeks.
I mean, they were huge.
Lindsay Muto says a dozen drones were hovering around her home in Harwich, so she called the police.
It's very concerning and unnerving and unsettling.
We reached out to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense told us to confirm with Wright-Patterson, who we have not heard back from. We're working to learn if they believe these drones are connected to those spotted on the East Coast.
Growing concerns over drones causing more videos like this to take off.
Definitely not a helicopter.
Flashing lights near Long Beach Friday night. This one in Temecula, close to Camp Pendleton.
The public has a right to know what is flying above the skies.
Yeah, that's no plane.
I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Well, Guy, we know he is receiving intel briefings, but he won't comment on the drones in particular.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people for the last few days have been saying the government must know what's going on here or have a better handle on it than what they're sharing with us publicly. And then that's exactly what the president-elect just said. Basically, we know, and they're just not telling the public. So I think that will fuel some more discussion around this issue. You described the press conference, Kaylee, more broadly as freewheeling, and it was definitely that. It went on for quite a while. I think it is appropriate for heads of state to respond to questions this way on a regular basis. He's not technically head of state yet, but kind of seems like he is, right? Given the absence and just the muted volume on almost anything from the current president. Even with the freewheeling nature of that, and it was definitely wide-ranging, you've worked with him very closely. I've just been an observer. It seemed like there was some restraint by his standards as well. He covered a lot, but not quite as much bravado. That was at least my impression.